I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zeiss Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to our biased reactions to Lost Omens Mwangi Expanse.
Let's move on to the rare and uncommon Ancestries.
Alright. Here we have the Inati, who,
I've given a content warning for them in my Twitter, but they're kind of just cute and fuzzy.
I am normally, kind of freaked out by spiders, so I think the artist did a really good job here making an Inati that was making a spider person that is, actually kind of cute.
See, the spider's just like, look at my little purple cloth thing. So, Inati are kind of reclusive spiders, and they're kind of reclusive because they're worried that people are going to be freaked out by the fact that they look like spiders.
In their true form. All of them have the ability to transform into a human guise, which they developed because of people reacting to them with fear or being like, monster! And
no, giant spider! If you're an Inati, you might only reveal your true form to people who have earned your trust. You might openly express sympathy for misrepresented, unfairly stigmatized cultures. You might provide for those who hold dear and defend them from danger without hesitation. Others probably appreciate your willingness to seek nonviolent solutions to complicated problems, have a strong reaction to seeing your natural form, and assume you have an affinity for druidic magic, given your ability to transform. So basically, yeah, they may be spiders, which could look scary, but they kind of just live in a communal society, farming mushrooms and weaving warm blankets for people.
Yeah, and I can definitely see a lot of potential for misunderstanding between Matangi and Inati, because Inati are kind of just like, oh, let's just keep everything peaceful and avoid conflict and maybe come across as kind of shy.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see Matangi be like, spit it out. Tell me what you really think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to cause a problem. Then tell me.
Obviously, a lot of them worship Grandmother Spider. But they tend a little more towards good than Grandma Spider does. You've got 8 hit points, medium, 25-foot speed, dexterity, and wisdom boost with a constitution flaw, speaking Inati, Mwangi, and some additional languages. You can change shape between spider and human form. In the spider form, you can climb more easily, but you can't really hold stuff very easily, and can only do, the most basic kinds of manipulate actions that can be used with some of those tail feats.
And if you want to know who an Inati is related to, you can just look at their name, because they generally take one syllable from each of their parents in their web marriage.
Mm-hmm. And so then you can wind up getting, you can at least try to figure it out, but it depends on how many of the syllables are the same syllable.
That's true.
And they've got fangs, so they can bite you if they want to bite you. They might not want to bite you unless you're a bad guy. Mm-hmm. So there are 5 Inati heritages in this book. There's adaptive Inati, who basically have adapted to a not human, and they have adopted ancestry with this other type of humanoid. I guess you technically can also pick human, and you're even more adapted to human. But you can look like an elf or whatever if you want. Polychromatic Inati, who become trained in performance and gain the impressive performance feat because of their vibrant, eye-catching patterns. There is snaring Inati, who were hatched with hook fangs, giving an edge in hunting, and fangs gain grapple and trip. Spindly Inati have just very long legs and limbs, and allowing them to skitter at 30 feet. And venomous Inati, which has fangs capable of injecting foes with venom, granting Inati venom, which a number of times per day equal to their level. They can deal additional poison damage.
So there's a question, do Inati in human form have any obvious features that would let people tell that they weren't Inati? I mean,
so
you can see a human
we're
form
about to see one here
on this next page, and not really. He just looks like
They don't. They're shapeshifters, and they did it to specifically disguise that they were Inati. So you can still try to roll perception against their deception. As usual, change shape though, Change shape's gonna give, I believe, by default, normally gives a pretty hefty benefit to the idea of not being able to tell that they are actually a spider in human form, because and also you don't automatically get a check every time you see this guy to be like, oh, is this a spider in human form? You have to be like, is this a spider in human form?
Let me take a close look at like his body language.
Or let's look at the patterns on these clothes. Are they similar to blankets woven by Nani? Like, we look at the blanket on the previous page, and the pattern is here. Can you tell this is a Nani weaving? It still could be a human who got a gift from a Nani, but it's probably not, given how reclusive and rare Nani are. Like, you could do it that way. So they've got some cool ancestry feats. A Nani lore is like a lot of the other lore feats, giving 2 skills, and a lore about a Nani reassuring presence, where you're like, it's okay, spiders aren't that bad, right? And you can calm people down and lower their frightened condition. Skitter talk, where you can talk and diplomacy to spiders and other arachnids. Studious magic to get a arcane cantrip. Web walker, where you are very, very good at dealing with webs, and slightly less good at dealing with like other ensnaring things that are not webs. Web weaver, where you are specifically amazing at weaving with specialty crafting, and can make just things out of your own webs and silk. Those are first level. Friend form lets you have a bond between your allies, allowing you to sort of give some tokens to your allies, and then pretend to be your allies using change shape.
David says, you've met people that paranoid. Yes, we have gamed with people who are like, I'm going to be suspicious of literally everyone I see ever. And it's kind of funny to, like, roleplay as the GM with the character who's, like, giving literally everyone the investigative stink eye. It's like, what, the NPCs be like, what are you doing?
And he was like, I think you might be a doppelganger, pretending to be you. But, you know, eventually somebody is an imposter and is a doppelganger, and he's right after, 50 scenarios where he's just to everybody.
Yes. Did he give himself circumstance penalties to, like, social-based checks for, like, 50 scenarios by side-eyeing everyone he came across? Yes, but that one time there's a doppelganger. Man, he's on it.
That's right. So, Hunter's Fangs, give you the critical specialization effect with your fangs. Hybrid shape lets you use change shape to become a sort of a bipedal hybrid spider and human type scenario where you get all the benefits of both. Disorienting venom lets you disorient your foes, so when they take damage from your Inati venom, they have to make a fortitude save or become flat-footed. Strand Strider, you get a climb speed in your spider shape. Studious Adept will give you humanoid form and mirror image. Web Hunter is going to allow you to get imprecise tremor sense. When you're touching a thread-like object, such as a rope or a web, and so is the other person, you get a much longer range on that. Web Slinger is where you kind of make webs and then throw them out as, like, the web spell, but, like, you just made that web. Every 10 minutes. Haja! Giant web. And that is what you got with Inati.
Shall we talk about Konrasu as well?
Yes. Leshy's cousins. Konrasu. So Konrasu are probably the weirdest ancestry that's in this book. Because they are a shard of cosmic force giving consciousness that are sort of connected to aeons, the beings of pure law, and they construct intricate exoskeletons to interface with the mortal world, and they're constantly building replacement arms because of the fact that their older arms, as they grow, just sort of calcify, or not calcify because they don't have calcium, but they kind of just become stiffened tree branches that cannot move and just remain above them. Like in this picture, the two that are kind of below and off to the side are the ones that are articulated, and the others are just sort of there. If you're at Konrasu, you might do your best to determine and act upon the will of your guiding aeon. You might use rituals and repetitive actions as a mean to meditate and reflect on your purpose, and you might have difficulty applying your cosmic instincts and senses to a physical existence. Others probably view you as part of a hive mind at best or lacking in free will at worst. Others probably have trouble understanding your perspective or attempts at communication, and they probably look to you as an expert on matters involving aeons or related beings, given that you have an uncertain origin connected to aeons in some way.
So that core, that center with the globe and the little lights in it, is fundamentally the Konrasu, and then they build that exoskeleton around them. But they need that exoskeleton to stabilize their forms.
Yes. And what makes them pretty different from Alessi is that their core is a chunk of spiritual essence, which is more similar to an Aeon, a Fiend, a Celestial, those kind of things built out of pure spirit, rather than Alessi built out of pure life essence, or like a humanoid that has like all of the different kinds of essences. Konrasu are spiritual essence that then build up this plant around them.
And societally, they divide themselves into maintainers, shapers, and correctors. Maintainers who are cultivating a balance in forces, caring for others, shapers building and directing things, and correctors fixing problems of all sorts.
That's right. So, yeah, Konrasus have 10 hit points, 25 foot speed, constitution, wisdom boost, charisma flaw, so similar to dwarves. Languages, Mwangi and Rasu.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Utopian is on their list of additional languages. And they are plants.
Then they have the Aeon and plant traits.
They sure do.
Konrasu traits.
And they have sunlight healing. They enter a meditative healing state as a 10-minute activity when exposed to direct sunlight, which allows them to recover 1d8 hit points, and then at every odd level after that, they get a d8 more. They can do it once per day. So they can give themselves some healing with the 10 minutes of just like, photosynthesis.
Their names could be like basically anything.
Yep.
Because they just pick up, it's based on what they've picked up from the world around them.
Yep. They self-actualize, and they just decide what they want to do with their name, with the concept of gender, if any, passage of time. They kind of figured that out as they go along. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they consider themselves often to be bound to, like, aeons or even a specific aeon, and they are almost always lawful neutral because they're really, really tied to aeons.
As they grow, they take part in a rite that enhances their form, and that's what determines their heritage.
That's right. So that's why you might be thinking, like, wait, they're a ball of spiritual essence, and heritages are usually based on something more biological about you. So...
Do you know who wrote the Konrasu or came up with the idea?
I mean, the idea was just like this random one sentence that James Sutter wrote in the Lost Omens World Guide that had like 4 ancestries just in a comma list. Mm-hmm. Now I don't remember exactly who wrote the final write-up, but the idea overall, just like the very quick one about like the fact that they had built that they were based on aeons in some way and had built these plant-based exoskeletons around them was just in that sentence from Sutter. And then Eleanor and Luis expanded on what that actually meant in an outline and then sent that out to the freelancers. So, yes, they use rites just in the same way that like Leshy heritages are based on which kind of plant they go into. Yeah. And that makes sense. So it actually is not, if it's not biological, but it is like based on their form. But for Konrasu, your form can change somewhat, and it's based on the rite that you take, which changes your exoskeleton based on the rite. So if you have the rite of knowing, then that kind of ties your exoskeleton to Access, and once per day you can call into Access as a free action. And it's going to basically let you roll twice and take the higher result on knowledge check. And you also really, really get a better result by a lot.
If you have the Rite of Light, then you have little shoots that grow off of your body that can share life. When you use your Sunlight Healing, you can restore hit points to allies instead of yourself.
They then become temporarily immune to Sunlight Healing, but you don't. So therefore, you can use it once per day per person.
Yeah. Rite of Passage, which is not what you might expect. It's literally about passage. It's easier to move around on uneven ground and difficult terrain.
Because you remain connected with plants. And so only if it's those things are created by undergrowth.
Rite of Reinforcement gives you, causes your exoskeleton just be a medium armor.
That has no bulk and the comfort trait so you can sleep in it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be proficient in medium armor. Because
you can't ever wear different armor or take off your exoskeleton, but you just have free armor that is around your body, and you can etch runes into yourself.
That's no bulk and also comfort, which is sort of like gives you, like, compared to not having this, you get like the hefty hauler skill feat and the archetype exclusive skill feat from Sentinel that gives you comfort on your medium armor, which are the two easiest ways to get those two things immediately.
And you can see here on this next page that Konrasu can take all sorts of physical forms. There's this one here who's like a grabbing hand, and then this one here has got more of an insectile form going on.
Oh yeah. They don't have to be a humanoid with those sort of stiffening arms. In fact, if you don't put out protrusions like that, then it looks like you don't have to worry about that same problem. It's probably like when they get so far out from the core, and they don't have a strong base root thing like the bottom of it does, that might be what was causing it, being at the extremities. I don't know, it doesn't say. Rite of Invocation, you augment your exoskeleton with magic and gaining a cantrip from Arcane or Occult list. And then Ancestry feats.
Or perhaps it is that if you had a creature that had like 17 arms, then it wouldn't be balanced mechanically.
Oh, it would be the most broken thing.
Yeah.
Even compared to the other broken things.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ceremony of Protection lets you basically use your exoskeleton to give yourself a +1 circumstance bonus to AC. Ceremony of the Evened Hand will allow you to basically gain claws or a branch. Claws or a branch attack, and you can take it twice and get claws and a branch attack if you want. Konrasu Weapon Familiarity makes you familiar with a bunch of weapons, including uncommon Konrasu weapons, such as the Taw Launcher that accidentally didn't have the Konrasu trait. Konrasu Lore, just like the other lores, it gives crafting and occultism and Konrasu Lore. Then, in 5th level, Ceremony of Knowledge makes you get Untrained Improvisation General feat and can try skills that normally require you to be trained. Ceremony of Sunlight increases the amount of healing that you get from Sunlight Healing. It doubles it. Konrasu Weapon, it doesn't quite double it. It's 1d8 per level instead of 1d8 per every odd level, so
it's about double.
It's double at even levels, and at odd levels it's not, but it's almost.
It's close enough.
Konrasu Weapon Understanding, you get critical specialization effects with those weapons you got from the Konrasu Weapon feat. And it talks about Konrasu Enclaves, like the Kresh Enclave, comprised of mostly of shapers. It's sort of a nursery of strange trees. And the Cups, another enclave where they kind of reinforce exoskeletons. So there's other ceremonies. Aeon's Guidance gives you augury and calm emotions, whereas Aeon's Shield gives you resist energy and shield others. Ceremony of Fortification, which requires Ceremony of Protection, allows you to gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing equal to half your level against the next strike that hits you, and deal one of those types of damage until the start of your next turn, which can be pretty cool. Ceremony of the Strengthened Hand gives you a deadly d8 on claws if you took claws on the even hand, or on branch it gives you shove and trip. Konrasu Weapon Expertise makes you an expert in those Konrasu weapons. Ceremony of Growth alters your exoskeletons to be large all the time. And Ceremony of Sun's Gift, you don't become temporarily immune to the effects of your sunlight healing. Whatever, you also get maximum. So if you also took Ceremony of Sunlight, then you could potentially gain 160 at level 20. You would gain 160 hit points every time you stood in the sun for 10 minutes, which you could do any number of times.
Yes.
Even at level 17, when you first get this, it's still let's see, it's still 24 less than that. So it's 136.
Yep.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Oh wait, there's one more question. Can a Konrasu look like a Leshy? I mean, they could be leshy shaped, except leshies themselves can be of many different shapes.
Yeah, so like I think you could have two that looked kind of similar. Neither of them would look exactly like a traditional leshy, but
Mm-hmm.
we're picking up here today with a biased reaction to the Knoll ancestry. The first time that Knolls have been presented as playable.
Yeah.
They were not an option in Pathfinder First Edition.
I mean, there's always been some times where it's like you could play any monster theoretically, but this is, as far as I know, the first party presentation of Knolls as just like, this is a standard thing that you play, and they're all sorts of Knolls, as opposed to them being like ridiculously irredeemably evil demon Knolls or something like that. This take on Knolls is so cool. And it's got just a lot of great stuff, and obviously Eleanor and Louise always add a lot in the outline and development, and I believe Mikhail Raccoon wrote these Knolls, and if you wrote these Knolls and you're not Mikhail, then don't hurt me, but that's who I think wrote the Knolls. And
the presentation of Knolls here is really interesting. I like the sentence here. To Knolls, honor is just another word for pointless risk. Any loss of a Knoll affects not just the individual, but their packmates and kin as well. Wasting time on anything but victory, whether it's mercy or cruelty, is seen as a little shy of immoral.
Yep. And it leads to a lot of culture clash of other people who just really don't agree with that and think that makes Knolls, like, opportunistically, like, cruel or bad because of the way that they're like, yeah, no, we're not gonna come out and fight you with honor. We're gonna like set traps and mercilessly slaughter you, and the fewer Knolls die. That's what happens. Don't mess with Knolls. There's no point in winning in a way that is less than the maximum amount. If you're gonna start the fight, you end it. Ambushes, tactical feints, psychological warfare. Nobody really likes the fact that Knolls do that, but that's the Knoll way. Always try to work smarter, not harder. That's in the you might. You might be very physically demonstrative, often hugging, punching, or licking your friends. You might keep a bone from a favorite relative to ask for advice. Others probably are intimidated by your size, teeth, and eerie laugh. Others probably assume you are dishonorable, or worse. And others probably respect the brutal efficiency of your hunting style. Like, the moment they see it helping them, it's like, okay, that was very efficient. I do respect that.
I like that you're on my side.
Glad you're helping us, Knolls. And Mwangi Knolls are a little bit different in terms of their overall culture than Knolls you might be used to reading about in Pathfinder. They're like in Katapesh, who are ridiculously majority Lamash to chaotic evil Knolls, because overall, Knolls in the Mwangi Expanse call out a variety of gods. It just depends on the situation or the crisis, because they're efficient, and so whoever's, they need some revenge. Okay, Calistria, help us out. What about Shallan? Well, they consider them the elder and younger sisters, so they kind of use them together in certain ways. Then there's Nethys, who is the brother and works with the people who are keeping the bones, the bone keepers.
But then Lamashi they see as the old mother, the goddess to call upon as the very last resort, and otherwise just beg her to stay away.
And that's why they don't necessarily get along well with the Katapesh, Lamashtan, and Knolls in that regard. So what are the Knolls' base stats? They've got 8 hit points, mediums, 25 foot speed, strength and intelligence boost, wisdom flaw, common Knoll, and some additional languages, which include Iruxi, because, there's certainly a Droon down there. And they've got a bite that does a d6 piercing damage in the brawling group, and low light vision. So Knolls heritages include the Ant Knoll, which is a very special Knoll that is like on the deck spread with the heritages. Yep. So it's with the end of the heritages, even though we're not quite there yet. It's very small. It's the Ant Knoll. It's size small. It's good at deception. You get a +1 circumstance bonus to deception to lie when specifically claiming innocence. Oh, look, I'm just this small Ant Knoll. And it also helps you when uncovering those such lies and initiative checks with deception. Great Knolls are particularly large. They have 10 hit points from Ancestry instead of 8 and get a +1 circumstance benefit, bonus to shove and trip on athletics. Sweet breath gnolls have like an oddly pleasant breath smell, which is actually from like sort of like hyena person folklore that of like that like breathe this very well scented thing and then like charm you is like that's an actual thing. And sweet breath will come from that, and it gives you diplomacy and a +1 circumstance bonus to make an impression if they can smell your breath. Witch gnolls kind of have that. That is a possibly if you knew that there were a lot of folklore about hyenas, especially in Africa, you may have known about the idea of like the witch hyena with magic and possibly shapeshifting. The witch gnoll kind of connects to that. It's got ghost sound because they make uncanny sounds. That's one of the classic things that they can do. And you get a bonus to impersonate and create a diversion when using only your voice because you just kind of, throw your voice in a Lucrota style situation.
So if you are a gnoll, you might have Crunch, the ancestry feat, to have crushing jaws that
They
break
do
through
way
armor
more damage.
and grab onto people.
Yeah, they're pretty sweet. They do a D8. You could have no lore, like all Ancestries got one. Theirs are stealth and survival for the skills. Humans don't, because they're humans. The old weapon familiarities give you flail, kopesh, mambale, spears, and warflail.
You could have a tiny hyena that's your familiar.
Yep. You can have Pack Hunter, where you gain a bonus on your checks to aid, and your allies get a bonus on checks to aid you. Or Sensitive Nose, so you get an imprecise scent. But you can't, obviously, you can't, like, train out of, oh, my nose is no longer sensitive.
Yes. I like this one here, the Distant Cackle for witch gnolls. It takes a very brave person to enter the laughter-haunted forest where you dwell. You can cast ventriloquism once per day as an occult spell.
And you're already good at impersonating and creating a diversion with your voice, and now you've got ventriloquism. So just imagine that's going to add to that. No weapon practicality. They are very practical, after all. Gives you crit specialization on your weapons. Pack Stalker is a terrain stalker, except for that you can also give the effect to an ally as well. Possibly more if you're very good at stealth. Right Hand Blood is based on the idea that the flesh of the right side of a hyena can heal diseases and the left side is poisonous, so you can feed blood from your right side to administer first aid, or feed more blood to treat diseases or treat wounds, and without healer's tools or anything, you just take damage, and with a +1 item bonus. And your left side causes you to critically fail automatically, so you can pretend you're helping people, but it's like, whoops, I dealt you 1d8 damage, that was a mistake, wink. Breath like honey for sweet breath gnolls. Just you can enthrall people with your smell of your breath. And your circumstance bonus to make an impression if they smell your breath increases. Grandmother's wisdom gives you augury twice per day.
Laughing Gnoll gives you a sinister giggle that gives you the battle cry skill feat. And
except for your giggling instead of crying.
And people don't need to understand your language to know that your giggle is...
Because you're not calling out, we will defeat you. You're just like... and they're like, okay, this is messed up.
Yeah.
Why did they start the fight by doing this? I just don't understand. I just don't get it. Alright, and then you've got Ancestor's Rage, where you turn into a gigantic... powerful hyena that is way bigger than any hyena could be. And then you've got Gnoll Weapon Expertise, where you get expert in the Gnoll weapons. So that's what you've got. There's little sidebars, like what kind of adventures are often Gnolls. Well, for example, you might be, depending on if you're like a Bone Keeper, which you might wind up being a witch. You could be a storyteller, bard. You could wind up as a barbarian or a fighter. Any kind of thing. A ranger is very stereotypical for them. And Gnoll enclaves, they live in the plains of the south of the Mwangi jungle, which is why they've got Iruxi, because that's closer to Droon than some of the other places are. And of course, Kholo, Kholo, is the name for Mwangi Gnolls. So you can keep that in mind.
How about the Galoma?
Galoma are very interesting because they look really freaky and scary with all of those green eyes and the eyes that are sort of at the end of those little hairs on their neck. But they actually are you can almost tell because of like the eyes, the main eyes being on the front, they're prey creatures, and they're actually very afraid of you. They're much more afraid of you than you probably are of them.
And they typically try to project an air of intimidation to hide the fact that they have a nervous disposition. They have difficulty distinguishing individual object or people from others who are similar. So you might imagine them being like, oh yes, that is like a human or elf or something.
And they might instinctively process large amounts of disparate information quickly and efficiently. Others probably are frightened by your strange physiology as a Goloma. They probably mistake your difficulties with identifying distinct people from one another as indifference. It's like, oh, you must not care about me if you can't tell the difference between me and this gorilla. And they probably are awed by your skill at noticing minute details at a glance and drawing rapid conclusions. So they're very interesting, and it's like all comes back to like, what does it mean to have these prey instincts in that are very strong in a humanoid creature. And so they have some really cool special abilities that are based on that.
They tend to be very vigilant, and aware of their surroundings, and prefer to travel in groups with other Golomas.
Mm-hmm. They're very cautious, so they keep your true name among only Golomas because they're worried about what happens if someone else learns it. And so they just come up with names that are intended to be intimidating so that you won't eat them.
So they're like, what sounds kind of scary?
Oplo and Necrol
and all those languages. Just take things that sound intimidating.
Or Zekuekeu. Korearji. Rawr, rawr. They sound like they're trying to scare you off with the names, like a frilled lizard being like, get out of here. Mm-hmm. So, they've got 8 hit points, medium-sized, 30-foot speed, which is a fast speed. They've got wisdom with a free boost. And then they've got Goloma, Mwangi, and a bunch of other possible languages in there, which include Oklo and Necrol, so they can be sure to get those names right. And then they've got eyes in the back. A special ability that you have eyes that point in several different directions and instinctively notice movement in the peripheries of your vision. When you use the Seek basic action, you can look for creatures in 2 areas instead of 1. Precision is necessary if what that means you can pick 2 30-foot cones or 2 15-foot bursts within line of sight instead of 1. So, you can double seek in different directions, and you've got faster speed to run away faster. Because Goloma.
Speaking of Goloma heritages. We start off with Farsight Goloma, which grants them a low light vision to assist with that excellent ability to see around. Frightful Goloma, for a Goloma who has a particularly frightening appearance, trained in intimidation, and gains intimidating glare. The Insightful Goloma is not just looking for danger in terms of what they can see with perception, but is also looking for signs of dangerous sentiments among others.
And lies, because that might be about to eat you.
Catch lies
you know
and
that
things like that.
Someone's like, oh, come to dinner with us. It'll be delicious. And you're like, is there an inner meaning to that? Yes. Who is dinner?
Who is dinner? And they think, I'm dinner? No, I'm not going to go with them. Vicious Goloma, who is sharp claws. Vigilant Goloma, who can cast Detect Magic as an arcane cantrip at will, because they're also vigilant to innately vigilant to magical.
Magic could be dangerous, Linda.
There could be dangerous magic here, yes.
Yes. It says here also that Goloma, with their wisdom boost, they can make excellent clerics of more unusual gods. Druids are not uncommon, and they also actually make great investigators because they're just so vigilant for stuff, and they can search very easily. So their feats are actually really interesting too. So they've got Catch the Details, where they can get eye for numbers, where they can just count, oh yeah, this is this many jelly beans really fast. Galoma Courage, where living in fear has helped teach you how to overcome fear, and you're better able to handle fear effects. Galoma Lore, their two skills are Stealth and Survival. Pierce the Darkness, where you wind up getting Dark Vision, but you pretty much need to be a Farsight Galoma or probably some Versatile Heritage because you need low light vision and to take it at first level. Watchful Gaze is a really fun one. You spend an action to just look in every direction and gain all around vision. So it's actually literally prevents you from being flanked.
Yes.
Unlike most abilities that prevent you from being flanked unless the creature is higher level than you, but it takes an action to do it. So that's like it's a first level. It's a pretty unique feature for Galomas based on how many eyes they have. Ambush Awareness can let you make sure that you don't get ambushed during initiative. And you can go first on a tide because you're just kind of always about to run away or do something. And Protective Claws are going to make it so your claws can get parry. So, I got to protect myself.
Constant Gaze is an upgrade to that Watchful Gaze that if the creatures are of your level or lower, you still can't be flanked by them even if you didn't use the action.
Which is basically like a class feature deny advantage. And if you're facing something higher level than you that's flanking, you can use the action still. So you've got it the best of both worlds with that. Defensive Instincts, you can just tense up your body when you're surrounded by spending an action when there's a bunch of enemies around you. That gives you a +1 circumstance bonus to your AC. And then you immediately step. So that one can be interesting. It's especially powerful if you have like Ancestry Paragon or went back to make sure you have that and Constant Gaze, because of the fact that then if they try to flank you, you're just getting better AC and you're not getting worse AC.
Arcane Sight, where you are constantly getting the benefits from Detect Magic when you're searching, unless you don't want to be.
Yep. See the Unseen, which is a ability when you're next to an undetected creature of your level or lower, it's only hidden from you, and the flat check to target the hidden creature is much lower, which is very, very good for an Ancestry, but that's what Galomas are all about. And then True Gaze, a one action, 17th level, once per hour. Suddenly, you True Seeing with 6th level True Seeing. So it's a quickened 6th level True Seeing once per hour. Pretty nifty. Galoma Enclaves can be found in jungle where the dark light and excess noise hide their presence. But there are a few in mountains and hills as well, and they're most common in the Screaming Jungle because most people don't want to go in there, and so Galomas feel like they know what's in that jungle and they can kind of be there.
But if you're looking for Galomas who aren't tucked away and hidden in a hidden enclave, then you can go to the Megambia University, where there are several students who are Galomas. And
Galomas are of course rare because as an ancestry for adventurers because they're mostly hiding away. So that's Galomas. Oh, and thanks for giving a sub to Stunt Monkey Trippy. Let's move on to Gripply.
Yes.
Gripply, believe it or not.
Gripply.
Alright, so Gripply are a shy and cautious frog people. As a Gripply, you might seek out clever ways to exploit your environment when overcoming challenges, make friends slowly, concerned by cautionary tales of exploitative strangers, and be fiercely protective of your home or community. Others probably assume that you dislike cities and people who live in them. They probably trust in your impartial, measured approach to understanding situations and solving problems, and they probably give you space, fearing that touching you would prove toxic. So, they basically look like tree frogs that are size small.
And if you're an outsider walking into an area where a lot of Gripplies live, you may not necessarily recognize everything that's going on in the landscape around you because Gripply cultures are known for their ability to mold and reshape the landscape to assist with a variety of things, building spillways, planting fruit-bearing trees, creating like shaping the foliage to create optimal cover for their future hunts, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So Grippleys have 6 hit points. They're small with 25-foot speed, dexterity, wisdom boost, strength flaw. They speak common and Gripply, and their list of special additional things includes Abyssal, because they sometimes bind demons inside of themselves, Boggart and Eruxi and Draconic, because all of those things are amphibians or reptiles or dragons and scaly or something, I guess. It's got a lot of those kind of things, and they've got low light vision. So
speaking of being worried that your skin might be poisonous, that's not just a stereotype. Poison-Hide Gripply is one of the heritages and allows you to indeed exert a deadly toxin from your skin.
Once every hour, when something is going to touch you, it is going to be poisoned. Snap-Tongue Gripply have an especially long tongue that can just launch out and deliver touch range spells and do very, very simple interact actions, kind of like some of the tail feats. You guys are like, well, kind of Yoshi it. Sticky Toe Gripply has sticky hands and feet. It makes them better at Fortitude and Reflex DC to prevent being disarmed, shoved, or tripped because they're sticking to stuff. And when ascending trees finds another foliage, their successful athletics checks are critical successes, so they go twice as far. Wingweb Gripply kind of have like webbing between their hands and toes that can like slow down falls so they don't take damage as long as they have a head free to like slowly fall down.
As for ancestry feats, as with most ancestries, we have the Gripply lore, get to get trained in nature and stealth, and Gripply lore, Gripply weapon familiarity for training in some typical Gripply weapons.
Blowguns, hatchets, scythes, short bows, and composite short bows, plus Gripply weapons. Hunter's Defense is a once per hour situation where an animal, beast, elemental, fey, fungus, or plant attacks you, and you wind up using your nature DC instead of your AC, which is, being able to do something like that all the time is worthy of usually like a level very high, like in the mid to high teens class feat. So, having a first level ancestry feat is wildly powerful, except that it's once per hour. So, it's that kind of tamps it down a lot. But it's still a very powerful reaction because if you're someone who took this, your nature is probably way higher than your AC. Gripply Adventures, it mentions here that they make excellent druids and rangers. Their musical tradition, frog song, good for bards. Obviously, their dexterity can be helpful with monks or rogues, and of their wisdom is going to help with clerics monks.
Yes. You have the Jungle Strider Gripplies, who have a lot of advantages in fighting in forest and jungle terrain. They ignore difficult terrain. They can balance on plant material without being flat-footed, and their acrobatic successes become critical successes instead in those environments when they're trying to do those sorts of things.
Nocturnal Gripply, which like all the bestiary Gripply always take, are gonna have dark vision. Did we stutter at all there? Hopefully not. And you can actually glide along instead of just falling with style. Gripply Weapon Innovator for critical specialization effects on those Gripply weapons. Long Tongue, your tongue is so long, you have 5 feet additional reach to use when you use your tongue. Tenacious Net, where escaping your nets is harder than it is to escape other nets. And Absorb Toxin, where you kind of take in a disease or poison into your skin. And at that point, you're able to end the effect for other creatures in the area when it's something that's like an area poison by putting it into yourself, but you take a penalty on the save if you can counteract it.
Ricocheting Leap is particularly cinematic. You're using your momentum to wall jump off of creatures larger than you as if there were walls just going like
Yep.
And then once per turn when you're doing this, you can attempt to shove or trip the creature you're wall jumping off of as a free action.
Yep. Tongue Tether can allow you to try to disarm, grab, and edge or trip using your tongue. With Long Tongue, that means you can do those at reach with your tongue as well. Envenomed Edge will let you deliver venomous attacks every time you get a critical hit. and Gripply weapon expertise gives you expert in those Gripply weapons. Plus Gripply enclaves. A lot of Gripplies in the area originate from the Kava lands, which is a peninsula in the Expanse that's kind of very close to Vidrian. At this point, many Gripplies have migrated to Vidrian, and also have strong ties with Nantambu, and very underhanded little frogs could go to Treacherous Blood Cove. And they're mostly in the western Garund and not the other areas, but there's a few other places
But
you can
check
find
out this
them.
cool Gripply house.
That's how they became uncommon, though, is that they've actually moved out from just, like, in going a few places of Kava lands to a lot of other areas, so they're not rare.
It looks both cozy and secure.
Yeah. It's a little Gripply house. If you look at it from too far away, you're like, oh, is this just, like, a bottle that's hanging on a tree? And then you're like, wait, no, it's actually a house that's hanging on a huge, gigantic tree. Alright, so last but not least of the new ancestries is Shisk. Secretive mountain dwellers that are they're studded with these bones, almost feathered with them, that are just coming out of them. And they're extremely rare. They just kind of eat a few insects and vegetables and pass down their knowledge and information.
They haven't had much need to trade with others, which is part of why other ancestries are not necessarily as familiar with them.
Yep. And they have this thing about, like, not telling anybody else the information that they have that's part of Shisk culture that is very interesting. And I'll get into a little challenge that Eleanor and Louise and I had with them later. But, so, if as a Shisk, you might see yourself as a part of nature and avoid taking anything you don't need. You might be wary of others getting one over on you by tricking you into revealing something. You might love warmth and enjoy sunbathing despite your subterranean nature. Others probably are concerned by your diet and how little you eat. They probably become confused or annoyed by your refusal to give information freely, and they probably appreciate your incredible memory and knowledge. So, basically, yes, just have an economy that's confusing to others, that is not very material. They just care about information. They're paranoid. Even different communities of Shists are paranoid of each other.
Yeah, so the way that worked is it's sort of like a, you know, they'd be happy to pay you in material goods for knowledge, but they're never going to give away information for material goods.
Yep.
And so they might pay you for your knowledge, but you're not going to be able to just give them some coin and expect that they'll part with their knowledge.
That's right.
You better be ready to pay in kind.
Yep. So they've got 8 hit points. They're medium with 25 foot speed. Intelligence and free boosts. Mwangi and Shisk are their languages. They also can take any other language to which you have access as your bonus languages, because they just know lots of things. Mm-hmm. And they've got dark vision because they live underground. Alright, so in terms of heritages, then I'll get into the little thing about just not sharing information with anybody. So Lore Keeper Shisk, there is even a heritage that is so tied into knowledge, because heritages, right, they're about, like, your lineage, and they may be more biological than some of the other options, but this one just, like, you flat out know lore and other intelligence or wisdom based skill, and then become expert in them. Quillcoat Shisk can use their sort of the bones that are feathering them as barbed quills once per day when hit by an unarmed strike or a strike with a non-reach melee weapon to deal some piercing damage to that person as a reaction. Spellkeeper Shisk get an occult or primal cantrip. Strong Gut Shisk have a metabolism so slow that they can go for days without any food, and they process maladies more slowly as well, so that poisons and diseases take 50% longer to do anything. It obviously doesn't do anything if it's one round, because there's not like a 1.5 rounds, but it can help you out on the onset. If it's supposed to be a minute, it can be a minute and a half. Stone Step
Say that.
Say that. Stone step shisk. Stone step shisk. Stone step shisk. You try it.
Stone step shisk. Stone step. That is hard.
Stone step shisk. 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 5. Okay.
There you go. That was an unintentional tongue twister there, I think.
I think it was. Stone step shisk shift stone steps. All right.
Swiftly.
Yeah, there you go. So navigating mountains and other rocky terrain is easier, and you can ignore that kind of non-magical difficult terrain from rubble and uneven ground. Also is going to help you in caverns when you come into that stuff. So, there's a lot of feats. There's one feat that isn't in here, which is a feat about not telling anybody things that you find out. So we tried really hard for something where it's like some kind of a thing that was like maybe an action where it's like you recall knowledge and you get an additional piece of information that the GM tells you secretly and you can't tell anyone else. Or something like that. But it was like every time we tried to think of something, it was too non-collaborative and just made people potentially really angry at the Shisk player. And so eventually didn't have that. But it was a funny exercise to think about, like, could there be a feat about not telling people stuff?
Yeah.
So, Eidetic Ear gives you assurance in performance, and with a DC 8 flat check, you can recall a sound or snippet of conversation. It's memorized by rote, so it's not going to help you with facts. So you can't be like, well, in this conversation, I asked this person to tell me a bunch of facts about monsters. It's more like just conversational snippets. So it doesn't help you on recall knowledge. Shisk lore, Shisk lore is actually different than all the other lores. Even I said they're all the same, but they're not.
You hoard knowledge like a dragon hoards gold. You're trained in 3 lore skills of your choice, and also Shisk lore.
It gives you 4 lores. Spelunker, which is gonna make athletics to climb critical success, so you climb twice as fast and you know your direction even more. So if you want to know direction, then you've got to have the Spelunker level 1 ancestry feat. You're also not flat-footed while climbing. Then there's Spine Stabber, where your quills are just like you stab them with them for d6 piercing damage. Like I just stabbed Linda with my quills here.
Please don't stab me with your own. You actually didn't hit me, don't worry.
I know.
There is Bristle, an action to curl into a posture that causes your bone spines to splay out. And this gives you a circumstance bonus to AC. If you've got that barbed quills that reaction or quills unarmed attack, then the quills also gain a circumstance bonus to damage rolls until the start of your next turn as well.
Yep. If you're inured to heat, you gain resistance 4 to fire and treat environmental heat effects as if they were less extreme. Renewing quills lets you use your barbed quills reaction once 10 minutes instead of once per day. Obviously, it is for quill coat Shisk.
Yes. Dig Up Secrets allows you to cast Hypercognition as an innate occult spell once per day to rapidly recall several vital pieces of information. If you've got Piercing Quills, then you can cause your quills to dig deep into the flesh of your opponents and deal persistent bleed damage.
Quill Spray is a once per day. It's just like you shoot out your quills and hit Linda with your quills. In a 30-foot cone.
Why is hitting me with quills become a thing now?
I don't know. It just feels like I'm about to hit you with my quills every time that I do this. It can do persistent bleed damage on a critical failure. There's Delver, level 13, to get a 10-foot burrow speed through loose soil or dirt.
But you were still able to get at least some degree of people not figuring things out with the feat. None shall
Oh yeah,
know.
we always had things like that, but we didn't have one where like you knew information, didn't tell anyone. None shall know, non-detection. You cannot know. Secret Eyes for prying eyes so that you can peek on other people's secrets. And of course, Fountain of Secrets, a free action once per round where you attempt to recall knowledge and potentially get additional information.
Yes.
Yep.
So that is Shisk, but there are other peoples of the Mwangi Expanse that did not get that did not have those specific write-ups. So Oh, well, sorry. There were
Oh
you
yeah,
gonna say
there are
something
some
else here?
things about their enclaves and where they are found, like in the Barrier Wall and the Bandu Hills, but that's about it.
Cool. So
Yes.
we have the Bolokos, who are devious carnivorous fae.
Yep. Pretty dangerous. Boggards are also in there. They're pretty dangerous too. Some of them trust outsiders and treat with them, but and they are very outnumbered by Iruxi, and so they're not like as much likely to like go all Gugunta kill everybody as in other areas. But they still are working together with Mobogos, and sometimes they fight against each other. There's Catfolk or Amuran, uh, who come from, or a lot of them are in the city-state of Moriseth. There's Charaka in Usara, who, of course, came about as the corruption of Angazan infused them and amplified their worst qualities. There's Kava, who have reptilian eyes but appear to be covered in soft fur, but it's really densely packed feathers.
And they have they tend to have a bunch of they might have like a bunch of trained black mambas that they have at their disposal.
They're not necessarily evil, but if you show any amount of hostility to them, they'll probably just attack you with their black mambas. There's kobolds, which we talked about with dwarves because they like teaming up with dwarves in the Mwangi Expanse, but there's also a bunch of other kobolds here too. I think that it's to the point that they're common in Mwangi Expanse. Leshy, who some believe are the will of the Expanse made manifest. And in a way, you know, since they're formed of those vital essence beings, they kind of are.
And it mentions that Leshies in the Mwangi Expanse tend to be more likely to watch and see rather than to directly intervene.
Yep, there's Iruxi. Obviously, they've got Droon, the giant sort of major Iruxi place that is to the south of the Expanse, but is not in the Expanse. So they've got hubs and way stations with merchants set up in Mwangi Expanse. You should not cross an Iruxi trader or Iruxi mercenary because they're going to definitely tell everyone else about that.
Tell everyone else that you are not to be trusted.
That's right. There's also Mabaiki, which are leopards. Can be easily confused with Amoran, but they're not the same thing. Planar Scions. Obviously, they are a versatile heritage, so you can just find Planar Scions among a lot of different ancestries.
There are Sabosan, who are a bat-featured people who tend to be stereotyped as being like, oh yes, these are like some kind of vampire bogeymen or whatever. But they really live they're really mostly living in a single reclusive settlement deep within the Expanse.
They've mostly been killed off at this point. And then Serpent Folk, also known as Sekmin, because Sekamina, it was their ancient empire. There's also one of the layers of the Darklands. And they often hide themselves using their magical abilities and do their Serpent Folk stuff as they chase the legends of the severed head of their god Idersius, whose head was cut off.
And there's a little sidebar here that tells you where to go for additional information about catfolk, boggards, lizardfolk, kobolds, leshies, planar scions, sabasans, and serpentfolk.
Alright, but I can't find out about Mabaiki or Kava in those sources.
That is true.
Alright, let's do a little bit of religion.
That is, yes, let's.
Mm-hmm. So, religion in Mwangi Expanse, obviously, a lot of the deities that are in other areas are also worshipped in the Mwangi Expanse with different sort of representations, like, that every area represents the gods a little bit differently. And Grandmother Spider, who is one of like the 20 additional deities from the Lost Omens Gods and Magic book, is much more major in the Mwangi Expanse than even in other areas as well. However, there's new deities that have never been seen until this book, and that are in this book that we're about to see.
Yes. So let's talk about some of them.
Okay, let's do it. Adanye is cat.
Yes. Adanye,
Ceiling cat.
yes, well, Adanye is the legendary creator of the Amuran ancestry. Said to have made the first Amuran to be.
Ooh, thanks for the cheer, Trippy. Yes.
It's said to have made the first Amuran to be guardians, and to have instilled in them both their need for solitude and their esteem for imagination. So she is the tenets of her faith are few and they're flexible. She favors curiosity and wants her followers to continue to grow.
It's said that she is not considered to be the creator of Amorans, but has mentored the first Guardians.
Oh, yes.
I was checking that because I remembered Amorans, they specifically have a lot of different mythologies of who exactly created them, and that's been very mysterious. But so Adanye was more. It's more like something mysterious created them to like guard these liminal spaces, and as they were trying to figure it out, they find this giant ceiling cat that appears and is like, "Let me help you out, fellow cat friends."
You're right. Thanks for correcting that.
No worries.
I misread that sentence.
I think it makes sense that it's weird to read a sentence early on that says that a deity did not create something.
Yes.
It's easy to miss the not.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, it's like the goddess of the hearth and imagination, protection, and solitude. Edicts: keep your counsel, follow your heart, appreciate a warm hearth, defend those who welcome you into their home. Anathema: force anyone into drudgery or mindless work. Deny support to loved ones. Surrender when escape is an option. Destroy a place that has given you shelter.
And you're pretty much going to, if you're looking for places dedicated to Adanya, you're probably going to be looking into Muraseth, because there are not temples to Adanya outside of the Amuran homeland. And
of course, there's some kind of catty feud with the Osirian goddess Bastet. Alright, so Angazan. Nobody likes Angazan except one person. Angazan.
Yes.
The Ravenous King. Demon Lord, with this Demon Lord symbol here, of apes, jungles, and tyrants.
He encourages his followers to acquire power, use force to destroy those who oppose them,
commit acts of brutal violence, test yourself against nature, and make animals more dangerous. But do not cower from fights. Allow yourself to be resurrected instead of reincarnated.
And he's the patron of Usaro, the Charuka city.
Yep. The Gorilla King once ruled Usaro, or Usrao as it says here, but was recently killed, throwing the city into chaos. Let's see what the next deity is. Balamdar, the World Shaker. Areas of concern: big things.
Great size, megafauna, and strength.
Edicts: grow as large as you can, but shelter those smaller and weaker than you, and tend to large animals.
Anathema: accidentally injure others with your size, topple a massive natural monument, or use magic to assume a form smaller than you are.
Yes. His title is He Who Is Massive.
Yes. Both creatures of great size and also natural features that dominate the landscape, like mountains and massive trees, are sacred to him. He is a god of strength
and bigness.
And he is as a true neutral deity. He himself isn't as concerned with exactly how people use that great size.
Although they should protect smaller things and not use it to injure those with the others with their size. But yeah, doesn't really matter.
Well, as it talks about in here, there's some who are like evil followers who don't particularly follow that way.
Well, yeah, that's kind of odd because they would definitely, I guess they wouldn't perform the edicts. I suppose that injuring others with your size on purpose is not accidentally injuring others with your size in the anathema, barely.
Yes.
So they can slightly eke it out by not doing edicts they're supposed to, which you don't technically have to, and by I did it on purpose. I didn't accidentally injure someone with my size. So I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think it works. What about Chohar? That's one of the lion deities of Mazali. So Chohar is a lion deity of justice, loyalty, and work. And each of the lion sun gods, it represents like a different part of time. They're Tlehar, Chohar, and Luhar.
And there's a lot of information here about sort of the interaction between the faiths of these three gods of the gods of threefold sun and Walkina, the child god, who is a complete tyrant and punishes those who don't worship him.
That's right. So I think that we actually talked about them in the Lost Omens Legends as well. But here we've got an avatar, additionally, for Chohar, and we want to finish any and all tasks we accept. Bring those who are cruel to justice. Show pride in your home and your heritage, but do not break your word. Be cruel to the innocent or rebuke someone due to their homeland. Then there's Grandma Spider, Nana Anadi. We talked about her in Lost Omens Gods of Magic because she's one of the spotlight deities, so we probably don't need to go too much into her now, but obviously she is the Anadi, major deity of the Anadi. Then there's Calicut, the Winnower, who is a very interesting deity. Chaotic neutral deity of fear, silence, safekeeping, and the reviled. With edicts of spread fear in others, hide dangerous secrets, shock the self-righteous, kill the guilty to protect the innocent. Anathema, abuse someone who you have accepted power over, allow a victim to escape due to gloating, or snivel before authority and shout. So, Calicut is a bogeyman, but murders the guilty, and devours those who trespass on areas they shouldn't be in. And so it's not evil, but is more of a I want to accept those who others do not accept, and I want to destroy those who victimize others. And it's sort of like that's whispered story you tell to children to get them to behave and not go into the dark woods at night.
And Calicut would say, yeah, that's good, because if you didn't tell that story to them, they'd go into the dark woods at night and something terrible could happen to them.
Yes.
So you keep them safe with fear.
That's right.
And so that's why he generally thinks about sort of the value of fear to discourage behavior that would be either harmful to people directly or that they would undertake that would harm others.
He's very cynical. He doesn't believe in better nature and that just if you're so kind and nice you can uplift everyone. He figures there's somebody who's going to have to get their hands dirty to make things work. And if you just are just optimistic and ignorant and just think everything's going to be fine, then really that's because you just aren't paying attention and somebody else is making it work. That's sort of his deal. Then there is Lubaiko, who's just having so much fun making everything burn.
Yes.
Look how much she enjoys it. Just burn it all.
Goddess of wildfire, bad luck, inspiration, and turmoil. So she's certainly a dangerous god, as you might imagine, with all those areas of
Edict,
concern.
set fire, change the world, act with ambition, or not at all. Anathema, calm a crowd, douse a fire, sleep in the same place 3 nights in a row. All sorts of fires and explosions. That includes the powder keg that is like a political situation that's about to blow up. That not with literal fire, but metaphorically.
Yes. Revolutionaries, inventors, artists, and arsonists alike all offer Lubaiko prayers to have their achievements quickly spread.
Yep. And she also has a playful, mischievous side. She loves men's fashion, uh, and alcohol and jokes and stories, but her humor kind of can go on the "I'm gonna burn you" and watch you like running around in circles trying to put it outside because, well, that's the Maiko.
She didn't have anything to do with the creation of gunpowder, but she thinks it's awesome.
It's kind of a thing she likes.
Mm-hmm.
She's definitely a character.
Speaking of the old gods of the threefold sun, here we have another one of
Luhar, the setting sun. Got it. Luhar is the goddess of death, dreams, and destiny. Mm-hmm. So we again talked about these three more in Lost Omens Legends, but the setting sun here is lawful neutral, is not meant to represent anything kind of evil, but is more of like, let's think about what we're going to do next, learn about the night, prepare yourself to face its creatures, always make time for sleeping and dreams, ensure others never go to sleep scared. Do not stay up all night without breaks for sleeping or dreaming. Do not attack a person or creature while they sleep. Do not leave a badly wounded opponent alive and suffering, and do not create undead or ask questions of the dead. That's Luhar. Luhar likes to do that. What about Mazlude?
Mazlude, mother of hearth and wall.
Yes. Mazlude was
an imperial lord, and her actions during Earthfall and the Age of Darkness saved huge numbers of lives, and she was able to form a divine concordance that protected the Garudi nation of Halamog from destruction.
Yep.
And in the process, elevated herself to true divinity.
That's right. And so now it is more common for people to pay homage to Mazlude. And Mazlude is usually like a giant snake with a mane of eggs and figs that you can see in this picture. Mazlude wants you to seek to improve yourself and your community, to trust those you work with, and to encourage cooperation, but not to betray another's trust, not to place conflict between ideological differences over people's lives. That's Mazlude.
And then we have Tlehar, the third of the three gods.
The Rising Sun.
Threefold Sun. Yes. Of the Rising Sun.
Goddess of iron, love, and rebirth. And again, we talked about them more in Lost Omens Legends, but she wants to give yourself fully to everything you attempt. Always maintain hope that tomorrow will be a better day, because it's the Rising Sun. Treasure every gift you're given by those who matter to you, but do not lose your motivation to your regrets or spread despair or treat a loved one poorly. We've got Uvuko, the diamond ring. That's another new one. Is the god of metamorphosis, cycles, growth, and fertility. Is basically like a giant cloud snake that sheds skin to become different. And is ancient, but kind of still innocent and shy. Just a big old shy sky snake. Who wants you to embrace change in the future, master adversity with flexibility, and foster freedom and progress for others, but do not allow yourself and your surroundings to stagnate. Do not crush an egg, and do not use vile or cruel language.
I like that thing at the end there. Rituals to evoke are often simply attempts to coax the god into actually visiting. Arguments, misery, or even a crossword spoken in anger can cause the god to dart away.
Yep.
So priests seeking Uvoko's blessings must be careful to present a welcoming
You have to be calm, because the god could like, come on, visit and give a miracle, but then it's like someone, like a baby starts crying or someone shouts, it's like, oh no! It's like just a very shy little sky snake who wants to help.
Yes.
His cat.
And last here we have Walkina.
We do have a Walkina.
Yes.
The God King, lawful evil, obviously a major force in the Mwangi Expanse of Mizali, wants you to uphold Mizali's laws because they are laws that Walkina made.
Tend to him.
Tend to Walkina and obey his instructions. Oppose exploitation of the Mwangi Expanse. Do not consort or trade with any non-Mwangi people or die. And do not defy Walkina's orders or die. That's Walkina. And yes. Walkina enjoys destroying you. So yeah, Walkina is basically a ruler over Mizali. And, you know, attacks you with sun lasers or things if if you don't like Wakina. Wakina hates people who are not Mwangi, and then also hates like most of the other Mwangi areas because they have people who are not. They deal with people who are not Mwangi. So like Vidrian, for example, is worrying Wakina for sure in the area, and so because of the fact that when Sargava was around, it was a nice foil to Wakina, and Wakina liked that it was there, even though Wakina hated that it was there, because Wakina wants all those colonizers out and wants to kill them. But at least like some people who were not Mizali and were not Sargava were like, well, Kina is being like burning everybody with giant lasers, but is also like checking the power of Sargava. So okay, but now that everyone like likes Vidrian and they're kind of thinking,
like, you know,
this
maybe,
guy who's burning us with giant sun lasers is
like,
not really helping us either right now. And so Walkina's kind of worried about that and is like, well, now what are we gonna do? And Luis says you can find some awesome Mwangi pantheons on the blog if you want more Mwangi religion content, which is absolutely true. And I also agree that if there was someone with giant sun lasers that was also burning something else I considered dangerous, I might let them slide for longer. But when that other group is gone, I'm going to turn towards the guy with the giant sun lasers.
You may not want to turn literally towards
Maybe not. I'll shield my eyes, but also talk to people. And I'll be like, you know, there's some lions that might want to get rid of this guy. 3 lions. There's a lady with a Molotov who might want to just burn anything. Who I might want to talk to about this. Yeah. Maybe Calicot will help me out and deal with Volcano. Like, a lot of these deities might help deal with Volcano in their own different ways. So there's other religions. We have the amazing picture of Desna in the Mwangi art style of Desna. Queen of the Sky. There's Gazra, with the duality of Gazra is just very, very important in the Mwangi Expanse because of both the winds and the waves being important. And Banuat see Gazra as embodying the freedom of the wind, and pair Gazra with Desna as Shemye Magala, an aspect of the open sky, which is sort of a Geniform style. Looks like somewhat like Pantheon-esque thing, but with one like entity name. Then there is Green Faith, of course, which is not a deity, but is still very important in Mwangi Expanse. And they even have some unique minor orders that are super ultra specific, even compared to other minor orders, like Order of the Frog and Order of the Fallen Bridge. Because the orders that are like specific groups of animals that are even bigger than Frog are already minor orders. So I imagine that the Order of the Frog is like absurdly minor because it literally only names one type of animal. But it looks like they train members to cure and inflict poisons with the Order of the Frog and the Fallen Bridge. They do not like unimpeded commerce because of the fact that it can bring invasive species and diseases. Then obviously the Mashtu has a lot of influence in the Mwangi Expanse, but not that strong of influence. It's just kind of like sporadic. There's jackals around, and most of the people there, don't really like her very much. She did kill Kirchanis, the god of beasts, who was mentioned in Desna's entry earlier. I kind of skipped that. She has some influence among some of the gnolls, like kind of on the other side of the mountains that are closer to where some of the more Lamashtan gnolls are. Then there's Idertius, the headless god of serpent folk, who was decapitated in the Mwangi Expanse during the Age of Legend. And his headless body and his head are both like around somewhere, and who knows what they're gonna do. They're like a head and a headless body. Like, I guess whatever you expect an evil godhead to scheme, that's probably what it's going to scheme.
Fair enough. And that brings us to the end of the religion section. So why don't we go ahead and wrap this one up by saying goodbye to YouTube.
All right. Bye, YouTube. See you next time.